And we're looking at the philosophy of yin and yang, the positive and negative, the blood and qi. All of those aspects of how nature flows and how qi flows. Qi flows very much like water.
Aloha, and welcome to Healers' Voices, the podcast that brings you the healing heartbeats of Maui and around the world. I'm your host, Jessica Brazil, and together we embark on a journey to explore the inspiring stories of individuals who are making a profound impact on both local and global levels. From the powerful healing of Maui, we are here to amplify the voices of healers, visionaries, and change makers. We believe in the transformative power of dialogue to chart a future where all life thrives, living in harmony with the natural world and embodying the spirit of aloha. Aloha, Naya. Welcome to our Healers Voices podcast. Really thrilled to have you here as one of Maui's leading acupuncturists. Welcome to the show. We're excited to hear your voice. Just briefly, I want to introduce you as having received your master's in Eastern Asian medicine and a licensed acupuncturist, and studied your degree at the Traditional Chinese Medicine College of Hawaii in Waimea, and have been a very active member of the community in treating a variety of health conditions, as well as responding to many of the community members who were affected by the Maui wildfires. So thank you for being here. Thank you for serving our community, and look forward to hearing from you today. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to become an acupuncturist?
Oh, thank you so much for having me here. Yeah, I discovered acupuncture actually from a friend who just receiving acupuncture was really transformative, and feeling the effects of how balancing it was, and calming, and supportive. Um, but yeah, surprisingly, I was actually at a festival and observed how acupuncture was being shared at the festival, and that was kind of the deciding moment in my life where I was like, that's what I want to do. And it's been such a healing journey for me, learning the path, as well as being able to share the medicine. So yeah, I'm so grateful to have come across it in my life. Yeah.
Wonderful. And can you share for the less familiar listener a little bit more about Eastern medicine for those who aren't as familiar with it, and maybe how they could expect that to look a little different from conventional medicine?
Okay. Yeah. So usually when you go see an acupuncturist, the acupuncturist would first feel your pulses and take a look at your tongue. In the pulses, we're taking a look at the 12 organ system in the body, and we're able to sense and feel how the energy is flowing through those organs, as well as also looking at the presentation of the tongue, and any types of symptoms and signs that are also being shared in the intake to understand the picture of what's happening in the body. And Eastern medicine is really taking a look at how to bring about harmony and balance in the body, using the philosophy of how nature is applied. So how energy flows. What I love the analogy of walking in a forest and sitting down and feeling the wind blow and how the water is running in the river. How energy flows in the 5 elements is a presentation of how is also reflected in the human body. So taking a look at how to bring about that balance. If there is a deficiency in one of the organs or elements, then we can nourish or support or bring about a balance. And we're looking at the philosophy of yin and yang, the positive and negative, the blood and qi. All of those aspects of how nature flows and how qi flows. Qi flows very much like water. So energy, we're all tapped. Every living thing is tapped into vital force energy, or qi flow, and how that qi is flowing through our bodies is how how much life force we're being able to receive and to bring about more balance. And I love this one quote that is really pretty much the premise of Eastern medicine is that if there is no flow, if if there is pain, then there is no movement. If there is no pain, there is movement. And
Mm.
really what we're looking at is how to bring about chi flow so that the body can repair itself, and we're all built to heal, and how to bring about that healing process, either with supporting the electromagnetic field of our body, with acupuncture points, because needles are made of metal, so metal is conductive and it's going to activate um, the electromagnetic of the body. So yeah, it's just fascinating. It's a lifetime of study, and I still feel like I'm still learning, and the philosophy behind it, the depth of, like, not only is it physical ailments that we're looking at bringing about balance, but also the emotional body and the spiritual body. So the energy system can apply to all aspects, not only to our bones and to our sinews and tendons, but also to how our emotional body and how are we responding, and feeling, and our mental mind. So yeah.
Yeah, that's it. The more that I have spoken with you, the more fascinating I have found that perspective. And lately, I feel like the conversation's been coming up about our relationship with the elements and nature, especially following Maui's fires, and we see like an imbalance in or a corrective attempt that's happening in nature, and our bodies also have corrective attempts with how it achieves homeostasis. So I'm curious, if somebody presents and you notice one of the pulses is out of alignment, and there's a particular organ that corresponds, and also some elemental things going on in nature. Do you see any connections with that when you're working with
Yeah,
your
that's a great question, because I think about that, like just even in our planet, when all the fires are happening in Australia and also here, and fire is like a fever, and the body heats up for a reason so that it can try to respond to an infection, let's say, or if there's like a presentation of hives, or um, uh, um, yeah, like any kind of inflammation response. The body, I've found that, yeah, just even also with like floods that are happening, and this balance, because fire is related to the heart and small intestine, the shen, or the spirit, and um, and then if there's excess amount of fire, then um, the wood element is the mother of fire, so that's liver gallbladder, and that can liver gallbladder is the wood element, so like wood feeds fire, and how to like how to control what controls fire is water, and how to bring about more water support. And water is our emotions. How do we support our emotional body, and the kidney energy response as well? 'Cause the kidney and bladder is the water element, um,
Mm,
and I look at that on a global scale, because Mother Earth is also, has meridians, and her ley lines are like the meridians of the human body. And if all things have chi flow and energy flow, how do we bring about more of a balance in that response? Like in the human body, if there is a large fire response in the body, and we want to subdue, or like dredge some of that fire out, we can, one of the things is supporting and tonifying water element points, and also clearing heat points. So like one of the best clear heat points is right in the back of the neck, do 14, and there's all these points throughout the body that can help clear heat. And I think about that as well for the planet. It's like what points around, or places around the earth that would help support to bring about a little bit more harmony to the extreme response that the planet is experiencing as well. Um, but yeah, what a great question. I think about that a lot as well, just on a planetary response, but um, also what can we do individually within ourselves, um, in supporting our relationship with the planet, and supporting our own bodies, in that response as well.
Mm.
But I really like feel that connection with how the Hawaiians really want to like free the rivers and um, really allow the rivers to flow like in its natural path, because that's one of the ways that I think can respond to the fires here on the land, and really allow the rivers to run free again.
Yes, and it makes sense that our bodies would mirror what's happening on the planet because that's what's feeding us, right? Where there's an
Hmm.
exchange of life happening between our bodies and where we are living on this earth. So whenever we've spoken about acupuncture, that connection is always deepening for me when you're sharing about how energy flows. Of course, that makes sense. If our natural environment, there's a stagnation with water flowing, that our chi may also be mirroring some stagnation since we're not having that same relationship dynamic in our natural environment.
Hmm.
Also, because we're consuming, food and air and water and all of those ways. I'm speaking with indigenous healers and leaders that they've shared a similar description of each of these elements has a spirit, and
Yes.
that spirit can become unwell when it is not flowing in its natural state. That nature will correct itself, and that
Hmm.
fires is one way because it's destructive and then it rebuilds. Some fires used to happen, but they would put themselves out. They wouldn't be quite so massive. So there's clearly some illness, it appears, in our planet, and many of us experiencing different illnesses. We just went through. We've gone through as collective humans and animals. We've had a lot more illness that they've been facing. So, which seems to me like an empowering approach to health and healing is to lean into modalities like this because they seem so sustainable. We're looking at like self-sustainable um, solutions. So I'm curious to hear more from you about how you see this practice as important for our holistic health and uh, pursuing, deepening of natural medicines like this in our lifestyles.
Yeah, the regenerative ability of how nature is built to repair itself. Like if if the if we allow that process to happen, and um, the vital force energy of how chi flows is if we allow that path I really see kind of acupuncture kind of like going into riverbeds and pulling out the sticks and stones so that the water can flow more clearly, and when water flows in a river, then all the plants repair itself and regrows the way it was built to. Um and I find that um that I think about how planet like has a north and south pole, right? And isn't it curious that all of the meridians in the human body flows vertically as well through our body? There's very rare that we only have one meridian that actually moves horizontally in our body, which is our girdling vessel right around our waist, which is like the equator, and then everything else flows up and down, and our how that energy moves, like how do we support that flow, and the more I think I'm studying how energy flows, it makes me connect deeper with the forest and with the plants, and how to support that regenerative process to keep that for generations to come. So like not over harvesting and all of that, so that everything is done with permission and with respect and I find that also like bleeds into how we treat our own bodies and how we how like if are we like taking from our adrenals like constantly, or are we allowing ourselves to have that rest and regenerative like time to heal. But yeah, it's a life path, and I always remembered this one senior acupuncturist. I just thought the world of their knowledge, and he shared that like, oh, like, and I thought he knew everything, about Chinese like meridian medicine and how to get acupuncture to support the human body, and he's like, I could learn this medicine for 3 more lifetimes, and I will still be learning, like, and because I really think that the more we learn about how our own bodies function and how it wants to repair, and how our emotional body is connected to our physical body, and how are we letting those emotions um, like be released or felt, so that we can do the healing, um, and the relationship of how like I've worked with people where there's a physical response of like some shoulder pain that's just like it comes back as soon as it is like cleared, and they feel relief, and then but then when we work on the emotional memory of when that shoulder pain was created, of some time when that kind of lined up around that same time, and then address that emotion, um, that we actually do like pack away certain emotions in our body and the muscle memory will hold it, for us to deal with it later, and then when we actually do address it, we can actually um, that healing of that shoulder pain being the physical manifestation actually responds accordingly, and then that pain doesn't return, which is fascinating to me. I'm like, wow. um, the emotional body is tied to the physical body. They aren't separate in any way.
And I've noticed that in all the years that I've been working in mental health, that there's a timing when that is ready to be processed and released, and it will store in different ways. And it's
Mhm.
not always able to process, let's say, an emergency in the emergency situation, because we might not be able to be
Mhm.
effective. So that brings me back to your perspective on how some first aid medicines, treatments in Eastern, from the Eastern perspective or a natural medicine perspective, and like how do you kind of see the complementary or the some areas where people could implement some first aid medicines or treatments in Eastern and natural medicine? Do you have some
Yeah,
tips for us that maybe can't get to an acupuncturist every day, that maybe want to start releasing some flow and chi in their life?
definitely. Yeah, first aid medicine is incredible in Eastern medicine. I've definitely come across a lot of instances, even in my own body. Um, like, but I guess one of the first things that pops in my mind is how during the fires, like the NADA protocol of the ear
Yeah.
acupuncture was really incredible for addressing shock, um, and the amount of shock that people were experiencing um, was really immense, and how to allow their body to let their tears flow, and just like it was put some needles in their ear, and then tears get to fall, and tears are connected to our liver, which allows us to express, and liver energy controls is the traffic controller of our body. So if that liver energy isn't able to express or allow that the tears to fall, and we like pack it away, then the liver function of making sure everyone moves in the right direction gets disturbed. But yeah, and I think just the willingness of people wanting to be open to receive acupuncture. And it does sound very foreign to like have someone stick needles in you, but these needles are fine, hair fine, and they're acting as conductive um, activation points, because every acupuncture point has a function and responsibility. And there are some points that are incredible for like reviving consciousness. There's one where if you did have someone um, like pass out and you wanted to like bring them back, there's actually this point that right at the tip of your nose, if you squeeze, there's this little nodule, and you can squeeze that and it will bring them back to a waking state of mind. Or for me, I once had like this asthma attack where I just woke up in the middle of the night and I had a reaction to black mold and I couldn't breathe. And breathing is one of like the most crucial like functions in your body. And my husband's also an acupuncturist, and he activated my breathing points on the back of my neck, and I was able to breathe again. But really amazing, like and there's also herbal medicines that are really powerful to stop bleeding. But obviously there is definitely certain points that places where conventional medicine is incredible for first aid, and I definitely recommend like outsourcing certain things for their effectiveness. But if there is moments when we're in places where we don't have access to that, how to be able to address those those type of moments where like wanting to like reduce a fever if it's the fever's super high, and there's herbs that can help with that. Or um, also activating like pressure points in your body that can help clear some of those points just by pressing on them. Or nausea, like one time I was on this like snorkeling boat and there was someone that looked green as could be, and and she was open to some acupuncture, and within like 10 minutes she was in the water and was able to enjoy her snorkel trip. And so I feel like there's so many things that um, it has helped me in. And I find it, I'm never like, oh, is this gonna work, like, and I don't, it usually does, because our our bodies are built to want to return back to balance. So I love that there is a medicine that can support that, like regeneration of returning back to that place of harmony.
I feel like as more and more technology has entered our world, that there might be a bridge of connection with how the metal conductor, how that has helped in some areas of communication speed, for example, through some of the technologies that we have now, that this is almost like a technology for our physical body that allows it to communicate and process information and find that homeostasis in different ways. Have any kind of, would you relate in any way towards, for a listener who can relate this to technology, for how acupuncture in a way is a form of natural technology that we can tap into?
Yeah, I mean, the bioelectricity of our body is very different from technological electricity.
Hmm.
Um, but I find, like, what Tesla said, like vibration, sound, and frequency is where everything it like exists. Like frequency medicine is incredible, and that is more of like sound waves basically. And that and there are certain vibrations that are in harmony with nature, because nature, there are certain frequencies that vibrate in that, and then there are others that vibrate in extremely high frequencies that are somewhat destructive. And really knowing that what that range is, and some people have the ability to sense that, and are more tuned into that because they can feel that, and then others that can't really sense that. So yeah, I feel that but like staying in the realm of bioelectricity and how, like even earthing with bare feet, like on the ground is incredibly healing, or um and and as simply as holding a tree, or um yeah. So there there's because acupuncture is so um is tapping into the bioelectricity of our bodies, that is just from the vital force energy. And qigong and tai chi is also a part of how to cultivate some of those energies, like, it's been practiced for thousands of years. And um but yeah, and how to stay close to mother nature's wisdom. I feel that we can't ever go wrong, and um, but our draw, as society is getting more and more technological, and um, higher and higher frequencies that are um, that is not very good for like tissue repairing itself or whatnot. Then yeah, I do question and wonder, like, uh, why our the human consciousness is even considering that, um, but there is also a lot of people returning back into wanting to seek that sense of balance, and their connection to their natural environment. So and I think that's why people have such a deep, like, are wanting to, like, hit farmers markets and understand where their food is growing, and have like a deeper connection with how to have clean water, um, and how to revitalize their water, even by like prayer and intention, like that. If all things are vibration, like even our thoughts and how positive we choose to think, and what thoughts we allow ourselves um, to focus on constantly and feeding into, is going to change our reality as a group consciousness. So that
Mhm.
that's exciting to me, that
Mhm.
that that we have that available to us.
Mhm. Yeah, there's definitely a growing awareness of this importance of sovereignty, health, and I'm curious how you maybe would like to speak to that
Yeah.
in this context that we're speaking to today.
Okay. Sovereignty is such a it's I was looking up in Black Law's dictionary about sovereign, and sovereign is actually a word that means that every individual is a king or queen without subjects, and that we are making the decisions for ourselves, and that we are controlling our our decisions, our own decisions, and no one else is controlling that for us. And sovereign health would be more of a more directing our own decisions for our own health. And I feel that not only do we make decisions for our health, it's a responsibility, like a taking the self responsibility, and um, making that decision, um, which is a big thing. But sovereign health is, um, I I believe that everyone is entitled to their own decisions, and that their decisions are their own, and to support that, and being a medical practitioner, I feel that only my thoughts and my perspective is only advice, really. And really, ultimately, the individual person needs to make their decisions on their own, and I celebrate that, because I think that um, everyone should make their own decisions, and take control and take self responsibility for their health, because only they can decide that, and have you know um, informed information, so that they can do their own research and figure out what is right for them. Um, but in natural health, and how is that how does that apply? I feel that natural medicine is very much on that path of yeah, on, on believing that, because it's aligned with the idea of um, being aloha and pono with what, and that's what represents what sovereign people do, is that they're honorable, and they make their own decisions, and they come from a place from their heart of what feels right for them themselves.
One area I often speak to people too who maybe feel like they want to really insert themselves and over help or over control or over insert when they see somebody struggling, even with their health, that I like to invite in is, the caterpillar going into the cocoon. In order to emerge and have wings strong enough to fly, they need to have the struggle
Mm.
to tear itself out of the cocoon. And oftentimes our health journey is part of that process. And we can't rush the process or the timing by tearing the cocoon for that
Mm-hmm.
butterfly, doing the work for them, because then the muscles won't be developed to
Mm-hmm.
fly. So as you shared that around sovereignty health, that was a bit of a metaphor that came into my field of awareness.
I like that. That reminds me of this other story I've heard about, when a lobster like feels uncomfortable in their body. They have this marker in themselves that knows that they need to go and hide under a rock and walk out of their skin, or their exoskeleton, so that um, they can allow themselves to grow um, larger and
Mm.
and more on their path. And yeah, I think of that, like, because everyone's timing and how they they are choosing to grow is their own, right? Like, so yeah, when they're ready, I think that
Mhm.
that is um that's an incredible like honor and opportunity that I get to be part of that and witness that growth, that
Mhm.
the body is just built to unfold and unwind that energy for themselves. So uh, yeah, and acupuncture can really be that, like, help support that level of growth, which is incredible when people have emotional releases and actually allow that discomfort or pain to leave their body. But yeah, and thank you for sharing that analogy. I like that.
I really like the. Did you say it was a lobster or a crab?
It was a lobster, but
Lobster.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, it reminded me a little bit of a crab, but I love that story too because that's so evolutionary. It's not just the one time upgrade. It's more of like a ongoing journey or process.
Yeah.
Yeah, of growth, of expansion, of evolution.
Hmm.
So I would love to hear any final thoughts that you have for anybody who is considering taking or deepening their connection to Eastern medicine as an approach to their health and healing, understanding meridians further so that they can understand the connection between their physical, emotional, and spiritual bodies, or natural medicine, and any of the topics that we spoke to today, even just the meridians. I'm kind of fascinated with that connection with the North Pole, South Pole, and the equator, and our planet and our body having that mirroring. That's really fascinating. So
Yeah.
yeah, and even for our our local community who are maybe healing from the Maui wildfires, do you have any advice or input for anybody who's considering exploring this path as a journey in their
Mhm.
health healing?
Yeah, I find that with natural medicine, or well, even with acupuncture, like finding your acupuncturist that you want to work with, and one that fits you, like anything, working with anyone, it's a symbiotic relationship, so it should feel like it's you should be feeling shifts and changes and growth in each and every session, and know that like it's not a one-time thing where it's not some magic pill. If some of the patterns are deeper and has been there for years, then knowing that it's going to take more sessions to unwind that pattern, and that I mean, with patterns that have like embedded themselves, I feel like the energies that support that for being placed there to begin with takes time to kind of kind of bring back into balance. So I find that like every treatment, you should be feeling an improvement, and with each improvement, ultimately, you shouldn't ever need to rely on Chinese medicine or Eastern medicine indefinitely. You should be improving until it's you've seen results where it's complete. Um, so that's what I love about it. It's not meant for you. Like the medicine isn't meant for you to rely on indefinitely. So it's really built to support your healing to completion. And that healings also are really built in layers, right? So revealing something um, after peeling away one pattern, there may be some other patterns, and maybe there's not. But also knowing that, I think with the fires, there it it was very shocking and very like um, it was a very like profound and deep experience for many people, and that shock is like accessing the heart or the empress or emperor of our being. So um, and that is the fire element as well. So being gentle with yourself, and knowing that um, forgiveness is one of the biggest keys in our own healing, and how we return back to this place of balance within ourselves, um, and that some of the bigger traumas that we experience, like yes, they do help us grow, but also acknowledging that that was really intense, and that how do we use that as an opportunity to move forward in our path, and how we want to be strengthened by it, as well as acknowledging that it was really intense. Um, and so I feel that being patient with ourselves in our own healing, and knowing that sometimes it does take more than just a little bit, because we're really shifting deep-seated patterns, not only physically but emotionally, and also deep-seated beliefs that can like anchor certain um, patterns, and how to know that some of those beliefs can change, and that we can grow from that. So yeah.
Yeah. And now that chronic stress in general, I have to say a lot of our lifestyles, even if we weren't directly impacted, indirectly, many of us are exposed to chronic data input and a pace or a rhythm that isn't necessarily uh, produces our optimal health. So I see paths like this is really helpful for corrective repair from that type of exposure. So really grateful and hope that your profession continues to grow and expand and become more and more accessible to people.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
this is helpful for those who are like, oh, needles, that sounds pretty weird. We now have a deeper understanding, and the intention is that our listeners have a deeper understanding of how helpful it can be to reclaiming sovereignty over your health. And any other final thoughts or words of wisdom or quotes you'd like to leave us with?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I really love love the quote of if there's no pain, there is no move. If there is no pain, there is sorry, how does it go? uh, if there is pain, there is no movement. If there is no pain, there is movement. And I love the premise of that. And I just think of a free flowing river, and really rivers are a representation of blood, and how that's Earth's blood, and how by supporting movement within ourselves and how we feel physically, emotionally, and allowing the energies to move, we're going to be supporting more healing in all realms of our lives. Like, so, yeah, I'm grateful to have the opportunity, yeah, to speak today and share how natural medicine is really been around for thousands of years. And the more we all practice and understand it and deepen our relationship with nature, and our own health, we are deepening our relationship with our future and the future generations of the children that will also be carrying um, balance and harmony with their environment. So, yeah.
I love that. So it is so important for us to practice taking care of our health.
Yeah.
And so your website is artofhealthmaui.com. That for the listeners who don't have a screen, the video screen, it's artofhealthmaui.com. And I know you have some classes coming up that will be posted there as well. Do you want to just leave us with any tips about following you and some of the classes or workshops coming up so that our listeners can learn more?
Yeah. So I'm also have another website called earthandwise.com, and that is where some of my courses or classes, because I really want people to have like first aid medicine and how to like stock their own medicine cabinet so that they can really have the resources and the supplies and tools available to themselves so that they can empower their own health in a holistic way. And there are amazing resources all around us. So I do feel that like continue to learn and continue to keep like reading on meridians and how each of those points like can have different not only physical actions but also emotional support, and that yeah, the medicine is much deeper than just stopping pain or being pain management. It really has very diverse in all aspects of like digestion or neurological. Yeah, it goes in all different realms and been around for thousands of years. So the more we all practice it and understand it and deepen our understanding of it, this medicine will stay alive and continue to be here available to us.
Well, thank you for making it more accessible to us to learn more about and apply to our daily lives outside of those one-to-one treatments. So really grateful for you being one of our healers' voices and for all that you are doing for yourself, for our community, and for our environment. So thank you for being here. We look forward to having you back sometime.
Thank you, Jessica. I appreciate you.
Thank you for joining us on this transformative journey through the heartbeats of healing. We hope that Healers Voices has filled your heart with inspiration and brought you closer to the spirit of aloha. As we conclude this episode, we invite you to continue this important conversation in your own life. Let these stories and insights resonate within you and inspire change in your own community and beyond. Remember, the power of healing is within all of us, and by working together, we can bring positive change to our world. Let's move forward with compassion, understanding, and a commitment to living in harmony with nature and one another. We'll be back with more incredible stories and voices of healing from Maui and around the world. Until then, please remember to follow and like us to support this continued raising of awareness and continue practicing, embodying, and spreading the aloha spirit to make a difference in the world. Mahalo for listening to Healers Voices. We'll meet again soon.